You're listening to Keith Sports News. Welcome to KSN Episode 9. There was a lot to talk about, mainly the Australian Open. That is the big event happening right now, and we'll talk about the upcoming NFL Divisional playoff games and a little preview of Monday night's national championship game of the CFP. But first, we have some sad news. And sometimes we're going to get sad news from time to time, and whenever I have sad news to bring, I would say that first, because it is, the most important news that I got. So, I have the ESPN app on my phone, and I would get notifications of scores or breaking news. And this is breaking news. If you're a big baseball fan or a longtime baseball fan, then you probably have heard the news. Bob Uecker has passed away. ESPN broke the news when I was looking at the notifications. That's how I found out. So Bob Uecker has passed away 10 days before his 91st birthday. Wow. He was a legendary baseball broadcaster for the Milwaukee Brewers. And before he became a broadcaster, he was an American baseball catcher for the Milwaukee Brewers, 1962 to 63. Then he played for the St. Louis Cardinals in 1964 and 65. Then to the Philadelphia Phillies in 1966 and 67. And later in 67 to the Atlanta Braves. And a couple of years later, he became the radio announcer for the Milwaukee Brewers from 1971 until last year. That's right. He was an active broadcaster last year. That's crazy. Although, he didn't do every single Milwaukee Brewers game. He would do mainly some of their home games, because, that's what happens when you get pretty old. But man, Bob Uecker, I don't know much about the guy, but I heard he is one of the best ever, one of the most likable guys for the sport of baseball. Oh, he won the World Series with the St. Louis Cardinals in 1964. I'm looking at his Wikipedia article. And, yeah. I never really got a chance to listen to any of his games on radio because I wasn't sure if he was still announcing or not, but it turns out he was announcing some games in 2024. But yeah, 54 seasons. 54 seasons as a radio broadcaster for the Milwaukee Brewers. That's crazy. Man. So, just want to say rest in peace to the great Bob Uecker. One thing that I have seen that he was in was WrestleMania 3. Yeah, I'm an old school big wrestling fan, and I once watched WrestleMania 3, where he was the ring announcer for the main event between Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. And yeah, man, he's a great guy. So, if you have any Bob Uecker memories, you guys can let me know. And yeah, we just not too long ago we lost Greg Gumbel, legendary TV announcer for CBS Sports, and now Bob Uecker. Um, I have there's a lot of broadcasters that I have heard and seen before, and I do like a lot of them. There's not really a guy that I particularly dislike, but yeah. So, just want to let y'all know Bob Uecker has passed away, and I'm probably gonna hear some sports talk shows that I normally listen to. They're probably gonna mention the great Bob Uecker. Yeah. We're going to get sad news from time to time, So, just want to say rest in peace to Bob Uecker, a great Milwaukee Brewer legendary announcer. And that's crazy. His last year, he was active, even though he didn't do all the Milwaukee Brewers home games, but the fact that he called some games at the age of 90 is insane. That just shows you he loves the sport. So yeah, I think that's all I want to say about the great Bob Uecker. Just want to say rest in peace to him. I'm sure they're going to have I'm sure I'm going to find a video tribute of him whenever a legendary player or sports announcer passes away. Usually I would find a YouTube video of that. So now we're going to talk about the NFL Divisional playoffs, the previews, okay? So, 8 teams remaining. I'm going to go through all the games and give you my predictions. That's right. And I'm also going to go through my bracket. Here. I made 2 brackets. I did a prediction video of me filling out my NFL playoff bracket challenge on ESPN.com. And I'm going to go through those brackets real quick. And see which one is doing better. The first bracket is really my main bracket, and the second bracket is more of my upsets. Okay, bracket number 1 is doing much better. Bracket number 1, I picked the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, and bracket number 2, I picked the Baltimore Ravens to pick the Super Bowl. I do think an AFC team will win the Super Bowl. It's either going to be, in my opinion, Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens, or even the Buffalo Bills. The NFC, the only team that I can see it winning is the Detroit Lions. But my Super Bowl prediction is the Kansas City Chiefs against the Detroit Lions. And I have the Kansas City Chiefs as Super Bowl champions three-peat. Okay. So, all right. Now I got bracket number 1. I got 2 games incorrect from the wild card games. I got the LA Chargers and the Houston Texans game incorrect. I picked the LA Chargers to win. They lost. And the other one, I picked the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders won. That's the other game that I got wrong. So originally I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles in the divisional round in the NFC. And on the AFC, I have the LA Chargers against the Kansas City Chiefs, but instead it's the LA Lakers on the AFC side, and on the NFC side, it's the LA Rams against the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm going to make my predictions on those games that I got incorrect from the wild card game, if that makes any sense. Okay, so the first one, Saturday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. Central Time on ESPN, ABC, ESPN Plus. The Houston Texans against the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to look up the matchup predictor. And the Houston Texans are obviously the favorite because the game is in Arrowhead Stadium. And these games are going to be freezing cold. Okay? At the bottom, if you scroll all the way down on ESPN.com, when you click on a game, it'll give you the weather. It's going to be 25 degrees at game time. Okay? And I don't see the Houston Texans winning this game at all. I don't think they have a chance at this. I think it's going to be kind of like last year's playoff game between the Miami Dolphins and the Kansas City Chiefs. Except that game was one of the coldest games ever. At like what? 0 degrees? This is 25 degrees warmer. But I do have the Kansas City Chiefs winning this pretty easily, I think. I assume most people are picking them to win, and I have them going to their, what is this? Their 6th consecutive AFC Championship game since, I think, 2019, right? 2019, 2020. Well, it's really 2018, but the game happened in 2019. But they call it the 2018 season. See, I don't do it like that. Because I know this is still the 2024 season, but we're in 2025. We're in 2025 now, right? I'm just saying. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold on, let me count again. How many times they've been in it in a row? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This will be their 7th consecutive AFC Championship game appearances if they make it again this year. So right now it's 6 consecutive, and I have them going to their 7th consecutive conference championship. The game Saturday night, this will be a pretty interesting one. The Washington Commanders taking on the Detroit Lions. How about Jaden Daniels? His first year in the NFL. Here he is in the divisional playoffs round. Wow, the Detroit Lions, the matchup predictor, 73% chance for the Detroit Lions to win this game. I don't know about that. That seems a little too high in my opinion. I can kind of see the Commanders put up a great fight in this game. I know the game's in Ford Field. I am going to take the home team in this one, but this game might be a little closer than the experts think, as Lee Corso would say. The game is indoors, even though the game time weather says 23 degrees, but the game is indoors. All right. What if they don't have a heater? What if their heater's like not working? Okay, then. And then Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Central, the LA Rams taking on the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. The LA Rams had a great game in their wild card game, and someone said that they can give the Eagles a pretty good fight. I don't know. Playing in Philadelphia in the playoffs is very difficult. I'm going to go with the home team again. Game time will be 32 degrees, so a little warmer than Kansas City. I think this game will also be kind of a close one, but I think the Eagles will prevail. And then the last game is obviously the biggest matchup. the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. The matchup predictor is pretty much dead even. 49.7% for the Ravens and 50.3% for the Bills. Wow. This is like a coin flip. Now, my bracket, I got these two teams playing each other in a divisional round, so I'm going to keep my pick, and I'm picking the Baltimore Ravens in this game. The game time weather will be 20 degrees. Okay, so this will be the coldest game. Don't know if it's going to snow there, but it will be freezing. I can't see this being a one-sided game. I think this will be a very close game. So, there you have it. These are my predictions. I'll be shocked if the Houston Texans win. That'll be the biggest upset if that happens. Now, if you're a Ravens or Bills fan, you want the Texans to beat the Chiefs, because if the Texans beat the Chiefs, then the winner between the Bills and the Ravens will get the home game in the AFC Championship game. So there you go. Because obviously, if the Chiefs win, they get the home field AFC Championship game. So, my conference championship game, I have the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC. And then in the NFC, I have the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Detroit Lions. Hey, if that happens, those are two big matchups. So, we shall see what happens. I know the wild card games were not that exciting, even though I said that all the wild card games were intriguing matchups, which they were, but most of them were one-sided games. And Shine on Sports, Adam Shine, his show on SiriusXM, great football show, he said, this is what happens when you expand the playoffs. You get more games like this, blowouts. Hey, the same thing happened in the 12-team college football playoff. They expanded it from 4 teams to 12. It really should be 8 teams, in my opinion. It should have been 8 teams. I've been saying that for years. You know, it should have been 8. Why have this 12-team playoff format with 4 teams getting a bye? It's weird. But, anyways. Now, a little preview on the college football playoff national championship game on Monday night, which is Martin Luther King Day and Inauguration Day, because it's on January the 20th. Don't you, if you're a college football fan, do you always find it kind of weird that the national championship game is always on a Monday night? Just like the March Madness final, or finals. It's always on a Monday night. Why not on Friday night? I get it, you can't have it Saturday night or Sunday night because that's NFL playoff games, but why not Friday night? You know, the last semifinal game was on a Friday night. I'm just saying. I mean, I know it's always been on a Monday night, at least when I started watching it about 10 years ago, but yeah. I don't know. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me, but so this will be a huge matchup. I will be watching this. I might watch the Command Center, because you can watch this game on like almost any ESPN network. The main broadcast, the main telecast is on regular ESPN. ESPN2 has the Pat McAfee Field Pass level, or whatever you call it. ESPN News will have the Skycast, meaning no commentators, just the sounds from the fans, which I do like watching that sometimes. And then ESPNU is the Command Center, where you have 2 different camera angles, and at the bottom, you have the bottom left and right of the screen, you have the coach's cam, and at the bottom center of the screen, you have the stats for the teams, the game stats. total yards, penalties, turnovers, time of possession, all that stuff. And it'll have the announcers, Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit. Speaking of Kirk Herbstreit, that man is the football broadcaster MVP. Yeah, because I don't think I ever got a chance to talk about him, but if you're both a college football and NFL fan, you're going to hear this man's voice a lot because he does Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime with Al Michaels. And then he'll travel to College Game Day on Saturday morning show. And then sometimes he'll travel to the Saturday night SEC game on ABC that night. Which is crazy. Man, how does he do it? That just shows you he loves it. He loves the sport. Some people don't like him for whatever reason, but I've always liked him. I've always liked Kirk and Chris Fowler. Speaking of Chris Fowler, he also calls tennis matches. Right now I have the Australian Open playing, and I have YouTube TV. If you have YouTube TV, you can actually record stuff, DVR it, okay? If you want to know how to do it, I'll explain it right now. And if you don't, and once I explain it, and if you still don't understand it, then I'll have to maybe do a video, or you can probably search up a video on your own. But if you have YouTube TV to record stuff, you go to a certain show or a certain program that you want to record. Okay? So, right now the Australian Open's happening, and I would record that because it's hard to watch that live because it happens all night long in the USA and Canadian viewers. Alright? So, you'll see a plus that says add to library. If you click on that, that means it'll record that show or that program. Okay? And the best part about DVR, unlimited. There is no storage. You can record as much as you want, unlimited storage. And so, if you're wondering how do you watch that recorded DVR program, you go to library, and then you'll find all the stuff that you recorded. And it's pretty simple. So yeah, all week, the only thing I'm watching is the Australian Open because I love it. It's really my favorite out of the 4 Grand Slams. I like all 4 of them, but this is my number one favorite. And this is really the first one that I actually got into watching tennis back in 2017. Because, the Australian Open is always the first Grand Slam out of the 4 because, it's only January, And, it's in Australia. Right now it's winter, in North America. In Australia, it's summer. It's the complete opposite season. So in America, when it's summer, it's basically winter. In Australia, it's the complete opposite. And that is because Australia is below the equator. Like if you look on a map, you'll see how much lower Australia is below the equator, if that makes sense. So I mentioned Chris Fowler. Chris Fowler, he would call matches, tennis matches at the Australian Open, Wimbledon, and the US Open. And so far I have not heard his voice. And the reason why that is because he is getting ready for the college football playoff national championship game. And here's the thing. I know the championship game is at a much later date. It's because of the playoff expansion. If we still had the 14 playoff format, then the championship game would have already happened on January the 6th. Not the 13th, because the 13th was the Monday night playoff wild card game. Okay. So, yeah, they expanded for an extra 2 weeks. Yeah. this season. Every team gets 2 byes, and the playoff has been expanded, so that's why the championship game is on the 20th. I guess it's always going to be on Martin Luther King Day, and coincidentally, it's also on Inauguration Day because that is on January the 20th. All right. I'm sure we're going to hear Chris Fowler. I'm sure he's going to travel all the way to Melbourne, Australia after the championship playoff game because he would usually call the finals. So, yeah. I've always liked Chris Fowler. He is one of the best, if not the best, ESPN announcer of all time, mainly for college football. So, the game's on Monday night. The national championship game used to be at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, but they realized that how late the game ends, it's an hour earlier, 6:30 Central, and that's a perfect time because, like I said, it's on a Monday night. If it's on a Friday night, okay, cool, more people stay up late, on the weekends, but that's a work night, okay, for a lot of people. All right. So, Ohio State is the favorite, and I will cheer for Ohio State because I feel like they deserve this championship. But if Notre Dame wins, I'm not going to be upset, Notre Dame has not won a championship since 1988, that sounds hard to believe. They were in a national championship game over 10 years ago, but they got smashed by Alabama. Nick Saban in his prime. Guess who the head coach was back then? Brian Kelly for Notre Dame. Man, I don't know how does Brian Kelly feel? Like, what if Notre Dame wins this national championship game and they're going to be like, ha ha ha, we won the championship without Brian Kelly. Ohio State, if they win, they can't say, oh, we won it without Urban Meyer, because Urban Meyer has won 3 national championship games, 2 with Florida, 1 with Ohio State. But I'm going to cheer for Ohio State. I think they will win this game. I have them winning this game. So it should be a very exciting matchup. And I'm sure a lot of the SEC haters love it because 2 years in a row, no SEC team in the championship game. All right. Okay. Final 2 minutes. We'll talk a little bit about the Australian Open based on what I know. On the women's side, the 2 favorites are still in it, Aryna Sabalenka and Iga Swiatek. I think one of those 2 is going to win the whole thing. That's my prediction. And on the men's side, Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. I kind of hope that is the final. I don't think those 2 players faced each other in a Grand Slam final, so this could be the one. This could be the one. At the same time, I also want to see Alexander or Sasha Zverev win a Grand Slam because he has yet to win one. He was in the U.S. Open final in 2020, but he lost that one, the one where there was no crowd. Novak, we'll see how he does. I'm currently watching the Australian Open, but I'm not watching it live because I'm recording it. So I'm really like a day behind, but that's okay. I'll know more about it throughout this weekend, going into the second week of the tournament, the round of 16, quarterfinals, semifinal, and finals. But big upsets on the men's side. Andrei Rublev is out. Same goes with Stefanos Tsitsipas. He is also out. They got eliminated in the first round. Wow. You normally if you've been watching tennis for years, normally first round upsets happen on the women's side. But this year it's happening on the men's side because Rublev and Tsitsipas are top 20 players. Yeah. Tsitsipas, I remember when he was in the top 5. He was in 2 Grand Slam finals, but he didn't win either one. Man. By the way, Tsitsipas is dating another player, Paula Badosa, the Spanish player, and Australian player Alex de Minaur is dating Katie Bolter. Or no, I heard they got engaged. I think they just got engaged. That's kind of cool though. Kind of reminds me in the WWE, Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch are married. You know, one athlete marrying another athlete in the same sport. Yeah. All right, guys. That is it. Enjoy the Divisional NFL playoffs and the Australian Open. Monday, we'll talk about the games, more Australian Open, and National Championship title game. That's it. Have a great weekend. Thank you for listening to Keith's Sports News.